You have rebelled against your party, the Labour Party, in the past. How does it feel? How does it feel, and why did you do it?
It feels uncomfortable. I always, when looking at a vote, look at what the Parliamentary Labour Party is saying, what the leader's saying, and want to vote that way. But on some big issues, the first time I voted against the whip was on Iraq. And it was such a big issue, and that I didn't believe the case had been made to invade Iraq. It was going to be expensive both in cash and lives. So I voted against. And most people who voted with the Labour government at the time, I've talked to since, wish they'd been in the same lobby with me and the other 138 Labour MPs.
Graham, I know you are formidably independent. That's why we love having you on De Piero and Halligan. But if Keir Starmer was to ring you and ask you for your advice, how do you think Labour should play this? Can they really oppose more money for the NHS, more money for social care?
Not put in those terms, but it's how that money is raised and why we're having to raise some of that money. I don't think the opposition, certainly at this stage of a parliament, 18 months in, should be saying exactly what we have done. The government have got us into this mess. They have made particular election pledges in the manifesto, and we should be expecting them to keep those manifestos and deliver the services they said. And I think they're not going to do this, but I think when governments break huge manifesto commitments, eventually they should go to the electorate. And if they don't, because I think the economy is not going to do well, there's going to be further tax increases and cuts, then I think the government are going to pay the price. So I would advise Keir to keep his powder dry, remind the electorate of what the Conservatives promised, and try to hold them to that. And if they won't hold to that, then they should go and resubmit themselves to the electorate, because they've told porkies.
How damaging is it for politics when people break that promise they made to their electorate? It's not solely happened in the Conservative Party. I seem to remember that tuition fees were introduced and that wasn't in the Labour manifesto. How damaging to the trust in politics and politicians is it when a promise, a contract, that manifesto to the electorate is broken?
I think it reinforces the view that's out there in the electorate that politicians aren't wholly honest. And I think at one level we're all damaged, both the opposition and the government, when manifesto commitments aren't kept. And it's another reason for voting against the whip. I would advise Conservative MPs, when they stand for election next time, if I was the Labour candidate standing against them, I would hammer the point over and over again that they stood on a manifesto that they didn't honour. Remember the Lib Dems, when they went into coalition in 2010, they had promised to get rid of tuition fees completely. They'd promised not to make cuts. They did the exact opposite of that, and they lost the vast majority of their seats. So it is damaging. Now, obviously, the electorate take other things into account at a particular moment, but if you have been shown not to keep your promises at the last election, it makes life that much more difficult for you, both as a candidate and for your party.
Just finally, Graham, briefly, does any part of you admire the Prime Minister? He's having a go at tackling social care. He's making a tough decision, a decision which several previous Prime Ministers have shied away from.
I don't admire this Prime Minister. I think every Prime Minister since the Second World War would have made a better fist of dealing with this pandemic than he is. I don't think he takes politics and himself seriously, and he is an embarrassment to the country. I would not say that about John Major, even Margaret Thatcher, who I disagreed with fundamentally. This Prime Minister is not to be respected in any sense.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.